Mastering Composition in Photography, a detailed guide for photographers. Composition is the backbone of great photography. It's how you arrange elements within your frame to create a visually compelling image that draws the viewer in and tells a story. While technical aspects like exposure and focus are crucial, strong composition elevates your work from a snapshot to art. In this guide, we'll dive deep into key techniques, using leading lines, patterns, and natural frames to guide the viewer's eye, as well as simplifying the frame to eliminate distractions and highlight your subject. I'll break each down with practical tips, examples, and considerations for different shooting scenarios, whether you're a beginner or seasoned pro. 1. Leading lines, directing the viewer's gaze. Leading lines are one of the most powerful tools in composition. These are natural or man-made lines within your scene that draw the eye toward your main subject, creating a sense of depth, movement, and flow. They act like visual pathways, making your photo more dynamic and engaging. How to identify and use them. Scan your environment for lines that converge or point toward your focal point. Common examples include roads, rivers, fences, staircases, railroad tracks, or even shadows and light rays. Position yourself so these lines start from the edges of your frame and lead inward. For instance, in landscape photography, a winding path through a forest can pull the viewer from the foreground to a distant mountain peak. Practical tips for photographers. Perspective and angle. Experiment with low angles, e.g., shooting from ground level, to emphasize lines and add drama. A wide-angle lens, like 16-35mm on full frame, can exaggerate lines, making them more pronounced and creating a sense of immersion. Rule of thirds integration. Place your subject at the intersection of the rule of thirds grid and align leading lines to converge there. This balances the composition while guiding the eye efficiently. Common pitfalls to avoid. Don't let lines lead out of the frame without purpose. This can distract rather than direct. If lines are subtle, use post-processing tools like Lightroom's adjustment brush to subtly enhance contrast along them. Real-world examples. In urban photography, think of a city street's converging buildings leading to a landmark like the Eiffel Tower. In portraits, an arm extended toward the camera can serve as a leading line to the subject's face. Advanced technique. For more creative shots, use implied lines, like a person's gaze or pointing gesture, to subtly direct attention without obvious physical elements. By incorporating leading lines, your photos gain structure, helping viewers navigate the image intuitively and linger on what matters most. 2. Patterns. Adding rhythm and interest. Patterns bring repetition and rhythm to your composition, creating visual harmony that captivates the eye. They can be symmetrical or asymmetrical, natural or artificial, and work best when they fill the frame or contrast with a breaking element. How to spot and compose them. Look for repeating shapes, colors, textures, or motifs. Think rows of windows on a skyscraper, ripples in sand dunes, or a field of sunflowers. Patterns draw the viewer in through predictability, but to make them compelling, introduce a break, like a single red flower in a sea of yellow, to create a focal point and add intrigue. Practical tips for photographers. Filling the frame. Use a telephoto lens, e.g. 70-200mm, to zoom in and isolate patterns, eliminating surrounding clutter. This is ideal for abstract photography, where the pattern itself becomes the subject. Symmetry versus asymmetry. For perfect symmetry, e.g., a tiled floor reflecting in a mirror, center your composition. For asymmetry, offset the pattern slightly to add tension, great for street or architectural shots. Lighting considerations. Patterns shine in even lighting to maintain uniformity, but side light can add depth by casting shadows that enhance texture. Avoid harsh midday sun, which might wash out details. Common pitfalls to avoid. Overly busy patterns can overwhelm. Simplify by choosing a smaller section. In editing, boost vibrance selectively to make colors pop without altering the natural repetition. Real-world examples. In macro photography, the veins of a leaf form intricate patterns. In wildlife, a flock of birds in flight creates a dynamic, ever-changing pattern. Time your shot for the peak formation. Advanced technique. Layer patterns for complexity, like shooting through a patterned foreground, e.g., a fence, to overlay on a background scene, adding depth and narrative. Patterns not only make your images aesthetically pleasing, but also evoke emotions, from calm, repetitive waves to energy, urban gridlock. 3. Frames, natural or architectural, enclosing and guiding attention. Framing involves using elements in your scene to create a border around your subject, isolating it and drawing the eye inward. This technique adds context, depth, and a sense of enclosure, making the viewer feel like they're peering into a world within the photo. How to find and utilize frames. Common frames include doorways, windows, arches, tree branches, or even human elements like arms or hands. Position your subject inside this frame, ensuring it's not too tight. Leave some breathing room, or too loose. Avoid losing focus. Practical tips for photographers. Depth and layering. Frames work best with foreground elements slightly out of focus. Use a wide aperture like f2.8 to create separation. This is perfect for travel photography, framing a distant landmark through an ancient ruin. Composition balance. Align the frame with the rule of thirds or golden ratio for harmony. If the frame is irregular, e.g., twisted branches, embrace asymmetry to add organic feel. Lighting and exposure. Ensure the frame doesn't overshadow the subject. Underexpose the frame if it's brighter, using spot metering on your main element. Common pitfalls to avoid. Distracting frames, e.g., busy foliage, can compete for attention. Blur them or recompose. In low light, frames can add mood, but watch for noise and shadows. Real-world examples. In portraiture, frame a model's face with overhanging vines for a romantic vibe. In landscapes, a cave opening framing the ocean creates a dramatic portal effect. Advanced technique. Use multiple frames, e.g., a window within a doorway, for nested compositions, adding layers of storytelling. Ideal for fine art photography. Frames guide the viewer's eye while providing context, turning ordinary scenes into framed masterpieces. 4. Simplifying the frame. Removing distractions to emphasize your subject. A cluttered frame dilutes impact, so simplification is key to making your subject stand out. This involves intentional exclusion of elements that don't serve the story, creating clean, focused compositions. How to achieve simplicity. Start by identifying your core subject, then eliminate anything extraneous. Move closer, change angles, or use depth of field to blur backgrounds. Ask yourself, does this element add value or distract? Practical tips for photographers. Minimalism in action. Use negative space, empty areas to surround your subject, like a lone tree in a vast desert. A prime lens, e.g., 50mm, forces you to physically move, encouraging thoughtful framing. Depth of field control. Shallow depth, wide aperture. Isolate subjects in portraits or macros, while deep focus, narrow aperture like f11, suits landscapes where context matters. But even then, crop distractions in post. Color and contrast. Opt for monochromatic scenes or high-contrast setups to reduce visual noise. In editing, use cloning or content-aware fill to remove minor distractions ethically. Common pitfalls to avoid. Oversimplifying can make images boring. Retain just enough context for interest. In busy environments, e.g. street photography, wait for moments when crowds part naturally. Real-world examples. In still life, arrange objects sparsely on a plain background. In wildlife, zoom in to exclude habitat clutter, focusing solely on the animal's expression. Advanced technique. Employ the zoom with your feet method. Walk around to find angles that naturally hide distractions, or use post-crop to refine without losing resolution. Simplification ensures your subject commands attention, resulting in powerful, memorable photos. By focusing on these composition techniques, leading lines, patterns, frames, and simplification, you'll create images that not only capture moments, but also evoke emotions and guide viewers seamlessly. Practice in various genres to internalize them, and review your work critically to refine your eye. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more photography tips and tutorials. Leave a comment below with your favorite composition technique or a photo challenge you'd like us to cover next.